bit busy trying to make a few bits. So it's part of my day job, as well as making sci-fi armour, weaponry, costumes, etc., which is what I do for a living. My official title is model maker, but it's mainly costume making. Obviously we have a workshop, lots of tools, and we also have lots of sewing machines, lots of fabrics. And I thought, why not make a thing? So I have. It's not amazing, but I think it's alright. See what you think. It made a tonneau cover. One of my poppers has popped up, but yeah, as you can see, it's not a perfect colour match for the car by any means. It's literally what we had left in the workshop. It's a cream coloured leatherette. Didn't use any templates or anything like that. Literally just pulled the fabric down here, stretched it across the car, marked where the poppers are. I had to put new poppers in down the doors because I drilled them out. And it clips on there just nicely. Obviously you've got the little studs on the air vents at the front. Down in there. So you just hook it over the eyelets at the front, stretch it down the sides, put the poppers on, and hey presto. But yeah, like I say, not amazing. But if you want to buy them, they're sort of, you know, I don't know, 300 odd pounds. And I'm not one of these people who just goes and spends 300 pounds on a piece of fabric. How hard can it be, right? It took two of us a couple hours to make it. Run it through the machine, do all the hemming, measure it up, put the poppers in, stitch up all the seams, and it fits on nicely. It's a nice tight fit, and it obviously just protects it from the rain. That's the whole point. So the reason I've made it, and the reason I started thinking about tonneau covers at all, was two reasons. One, because the roof on these isn't amazing. The roof I've got on it is an aftermarket fabric roof, which is fine, but it's a very, very tight fit. So with all the poppers done up at the back, when you stretch it forward to hook it onto the windscreen, it's really tight. You have to really lean on it, and I hate leaning on anything near the windscreen. So it is a tight fit. I know that's a good thing when it comes to roofs, because when it is all cinched up, it's tight as a drum, and that's nice. It does have a couple gaps at the front of the windows. And the other thing with the Triumph cover is, on the window glass, there's a flap that goes on the inside, there's a flap that goes on the outside of the glass as well, obviously to let the water run off down the glass. And when you are getting out of the car, so you, for example, I drive to work, it looks like it's going to rain, I want to put the roof up, so I put the roof up before I leave the car. Now when you get out of the driver's door and then close the door, the glass pushes the seal flat. You then have to hook the seal over the glass, and it's really tight in the corner. And it's a bit, like I say, it's a bit of a pain in the ass, and I thought, you know what, I can't be asked to do this. Driving it with the roof up when it's raining, okay, fine. I'm not planning on driving the car in the rain, really. It's a summer fun driver. But when I leave it, it's so much quicker and easier just to clip the tonneau cover on. It takes literally 30 seconds than it is to try and do the poppers up on the roof, unfold it, hook it in, wind the windows up, etc. It's a pain in the ass. So I thought, you know what, just make a cover. And like I say, it's come out quite nicely. So I've been driving this car to work now for the last week or so, and the reason is my van, which is my daily driver, I've sold it because it was being a pain in the ass. I know you don't care about my van, but I'll tell you anyway. I had a problem with the clutch master cylinder. There was a little bit of air in the line. In the morning the clutch was very crunchy getting into gear, so I thought no problem at all, I'll bleed that little bit of air out. Again, apologies for the noise as well, I'm on the main road. Thought no problem at all, bleed the air out of the clutch, everything will be fine. No, clutch master cylinder had it. It was pushing fluid through and then sucking it back again, so you couldn't bleed the clutch out. And I fought with that damn thing for about 2 weeks, underneath the car every day after work, pulling bolts, trying to wiggle the pedal out, and in the end I went, you know what, I just can't be dealing with this, so I ended up selling my van. And in the meantime, the only other car I've got to drive is the Spitfire. So she's been going to work with me every day for the last 2 weeks, which is great because it means I've been forced to drive it. You know what it's like when you do a classic car, you get a little bit edgy about driving it. Is it going to stop? Is it going to abandon me in the middle of nowhere? Luckily I only work a mile away, or a mile and a half down the road, so it's no, it's no great drama. But it's given me a chance to drive the car a lot. And since the last video saying, obviously I've got all the little niggles sorted out with it, I have, and it actually drives really, really nicely. I got myself a timing strobe, and again set the timing up properly. Took the dash pots off the carbs again, reset all the mixture screws. Obviously they're twin SUs. and reset the mixture in them, and it's running very, very nicely, I must admit. It now doesn't burble or miss or anything like that. It just pulls nice and cleanly in all the gears. So, you know, the only other thing I've really got left to do to it now to get it sort of fully roadworthy is really adjusting the handbrake up. The handbrake's still a little bit soft. When I took one of the drums off one of the corners, I think the handbrake cable has sort of pushed over to one side, if you like. You've got a single cable with a fork coming off again to both of the back wheels, and I think it's slightly lopsided, so it's only pulling on one wheel. So with the handbrake on fully, if you push the back of the car hard, it will push. So I don't want to take it on any big hills or anything, because if it rolls back. But apart from that, it's driving really, really nicely. So that's good. I've been forced to drive it. I've been enjoying driving it. It's been sunny for the last couple of weeks, which is great. But now I have to go and buy another car. I'm looking at a car this afternoon. I don't want to buy another car, but something with more space when you're doing house renovations, and something that's got a roof on it that I don't have to think about, worry about, choke out, all this kind of stuff, get her warm, get her started, clip the tonneau cover on, etc. Just a normal car you can get into, press a button, start it, drive to work and back. So, like I say, I don't want a normal car. I hate normal cars. That's the reason I sold my old car and started looking at things like this. But it's a, you know, when it's an old classic like this, it's a bit of a necessity really to have a second car. At least it is for me. First world problems, right? I need two cars. People out in the world with no shoes, you know, but I need two cars.
Well, I wouldn't say it's the most beautiful day in the world, but it's pretty good, to be honest. It's a bit grey in the sky, but you know, we'll take that. So, let's give the old girl a wash.
I should have said the old girl has just had a wash. Oh, shiny, shiny. Give the old tonneau cover a clean down as well. Gets a little bit groomed in the back. So she's had a good wash, scrub down, polish, get all the crap off it. As I say, I've been driving it for the last couple of weeks to work and back, and when it's a nice day I don't put the tonneau cover up or the roof up, I just leave it, and I park it under a tree, which means it gets covered in bird crap and you get all bits, you know, tree bits, spring tree bits falling in the car. So it needs a good hoover out now, and we'll get some back to blacks and polish and a few bits like that on it. And then when she's all clean, we're going to take her out for a nice little jaunt down to the woods. It's not very far, it's probably only a 5-10 minute drive, but I'll get the wife to film it for you so you get an idea of you know, what she's like out in her natural environment, whizzing around the country lanes. And also one other small thing we've done, which I saw on the forums, which I thought was quite a good idea, is rivets. Just got 2 in each trim piece, one in the back, one in the front, and again, for obvious reasons, these trim pieces aren't great at staying in shape. When I got them, they were kinked and they were bent, and it took me quite a while to try and get them back into the right shape. Obviously, because they're U-shaped and they clip over the pinch seam on the wings, you can't bend them too much. If you try and bend them too much, they'll just kink, and once you get a kink in them, it's damn near impossible to get them out again. So I made a small jig in the vise and sort of, you know, like a little knuckle in the vise, laid over that and hammered it around to try and get the shape back into it again. But it was a ball ache. They never fit right. I ended up using some black sealant on them to try and stick them down. And one of the other side popped up the other day. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to put a rivet in them. Nice and simple. Paint the heads in black. You'll never know. Okay, it's now got a hole in it. If I need to drill out again in the future, I will do. But you know, not too worried about that. And one of the last little jobs to do on this now, well, for the minute, is to touch up some of the paintwork. As you can see, I've got a very nasty paint chip on the door here. This is because the door isn't perfectly aligned, and you have to lift it when you shut it, which means it's catching on that corner. Chipped a flake of paint off. In some of the seam lines down here, you can see where the paint hasn't gone in there very well.
and you tend to get a bit of rust come out of there. There's another bit down here, you know. For a freshly painted car, it's pretty shocking, but you know, I painted it, and I'm no painter, and I painted it in here. And this, you know, this just isn't the best place to paint a car by any stretch of the imagination. It's just, there's just no room. You've got, again, probably, if you get the car hard over to one side, you've probably got maybe 10 inches or so to actually move yourself down the car. With the spray gun, the hose, and everything else, it's just an absolute nightmare. So it was never a good place to spray it, but it was the only place I had to spray it, so I had to make do. I can't spray it outside. Obviously, I've got neighbours, there's cars on the drive, there's wind, people walking by. So, you know, I can't do it there. And the workshop, the big workshop where I sometimes do some of my work, that wasn't built at the time. So, it is now. But at the time it wasn't, so I had to do the best I could, which meant that you know, the paint job on it isn't perfect. I may revisit it one day. It won't take me very long to cut that all back, mask it up, and repaint it again. And then colours. If you're going to repaint a car, what colour do you do it? Obviously, the white, the antique white, paint code 19, is the original paint code that's on the plate. Well, it's a nice colour. I don't mind it. It's like that ivory sort of white colour. I don't mind it, but I also really like gloss black. You know, gloss black with maybe a chrome stripe down it or something. I don't know. But I'm not worrying about that too. I've only just painted it. I'm not going to worry about repainting it anytime soon. I'm just going to get lots of the odd jobs, odds and ends done for the time being. So, I'll shut up. I'll go in there and get the hoover out. We'll give her a thorough clean out and then we'll get her out on the road. There we go. And hoovered and polished. Ignore the horrible carpets, they'll be going at some point. Quite fancy getting some of those nice moulded carpets, but they're quite expensive. And I really must sort that little light out. I just keep tucking it away and it keeps falling down. And of course the obligatory clothes pegs for the choke. The choke is an old one I stole from a friend's MG. And as soon as you go over a bump it just slaps closed. So because my work is only 1.5 miles away, the car doesn't really get a chance to warm up properly, so in the morning I stick both clothes pegs on the choke. When I get halfway there, I take one of them off. It'll run, don't get me wrong, it'll run with the choke closed, no problem. But you know, it can be a little bit stuttery on low revs. So yeah, the obligatory clothes pegs. I really should swap the blue one out for a nice wooden one though, or hide them somewhere else because they're a bit unsightly, aren't they? But yeah, there we go. Seatbelt recoiler is all oiled up, so they come in and out nicely. So, stick the tonneau cover back on, get her all closed up, and we'll take her out for a quick spin.
quick tour of the local roads and woodland. Like I say, we didn't go too far today. I didn't have much fuel. I don't have a huge amount of time today. The plan is to take it much further out in the future, and we'll show you some of the nice country roads, some of the beaches, show you some of the nice views we get. We have some of the finest beaches in the world where I live, and if you don't believe me and you think I'm talking up a little bit, views like this. So yeah, as you can see, pretty good. All the places that spring to mind: Charlestown, St Ives, Penzance, Land's End, they're all within a sort of 30-mile radius of where I live. And there's some, like I said, some really nice scenery down this part of the world. It has its pluses and its minuses living this far away. You know, I am down in the far southwest of Cornwall in the UK, so if you don't know where that is, I'll put it up on a map now, just to give you a rough idea. So you can see we're about as far away as you can possibly get. And to be honest, I like that. I like the isolation that geography gives you. We're miles away from London, any of the big cities. I'm a country boy at heart, I always will be. So yeah, the further away from the cities I am, the better. So, what's next then for the old Spitfire? You know, it's pretty much finished now. All the little niggly jobs are pretty much done. I always said at the start, this video series will have one of two outcomes. It'll either be that I do the car, I drive it around a bit, and I think, you know what, driving classics is not for me. It's just not for me. So therefore I'll sell the car and see if I can make a few pounds on it, and then maybe, you know, repeat the process, buy another car, depending on time and whether my wife wants to divorce me by then or not. Or the secondary outcome would be that I actually drive the car, I enjoy driving the car, and I decide to keep it and tinker with it and do that sort of thing. And I'm pleased to say it's the latter. I do enjoy driving the car. Like I say, having been forced to drive it for the last couple of weeks to work and back every day has built my confidence in the car. I know now that the car isn't going to suddenly stop in the middle of nowhere and leave me stranded. And even if it did, I'm pretty sure I could fix it, whatever was the problem, minus running out of fuel and not having any fuel. But I do carry a jerry can of fuel in the boot for that very reason. So I'm pretty confident if it did stop, I'll be able to get it going again. But credit to the car, it hasn't. It's never stopped on me. It's never left me abandoned. And I know I've only been driving it a couple of weeks and I've only done short distances, but it hasn't stopped. It hasn't felt like it's going to stop. Nothing's fallen off it. Nothing's gone wrong with it. It's, you know, it's the only criticism really is that it's a bit of rattly at the front, and that's just due to the bonnet flexing. So the plan is to get a nice thick neoprene strip and run it where I've got the neoprene strip now, and run it all the way down the sides of the bonnets, and maybe get some better rubber cones so it pulls itself in nice and tight. But again, I am sure that all classic cars have their rattles. You know, if kudos to you if you've got one that doesn't rattle, but I'm sure the majority of them do have their squeaks, bumps and rattles, because again, it's just a car designed 45 years ago. You know, and it's done a lot of miles, and even though it's been restored, you know, there are still parts that are original on it. So yeah, so that's the long way of saying I'm going to keep the car, I'm going to keep driving it. It's fun to drive on a summer's day. I do enjoy driving it. It's more of a real driving experience. You know, modern cars are lovely, they're comfy, they're quiet. You can't even hear the engine running on a lot of them when you've got the windows wound up. You've got electric everything, and that's cool. You know, if you're driving long distances up and down the motorways, etc., or out in the pouring down rain, you know, that's cool. And I've got another car for that very reason. But on the days when it's not, when it is warm and it's sunny, and you just want to be in a convertible, this is the car. Nobody looks at me in my other car, and that sounds a bit narcissistic maybe, but you know, driving a normal everyday car, no one cares. You take this thing out, and all of a sudden people are turning their heads. What is that? Nice car, buddy. You know, this kind of thing. And it makes you feel quite proud, because obviously I didn't design the car, but you know, I have restored the car, and you've seen the pictures as to where it started. And I'm no restoration expert. I'm no mechanic. You know, I've had no experience doing cars until having this one. So I'm pretty proud of myself. You know, I think that's fair enough. I'm pretty chuffed. Proud's the wrong word. I'm pretty chuffed. I'm happy it's at the state it is. It's not perfect, as I've shown you before, so I don't pretend that it's perfect. I don't take it from all the perfect angles so it looks immaculate and tastes amazing. It's not amazing. I'd be lying to say that. I'm not going to do that. You know, but yeah, you know, like I said before, if you're thinking of doing this sort of thing, I encourage you, just go for it. Just go for it. In the future, what does the future hold for this car? Well, that's another video. I'd like to get a set of alloys for it. I'd like to maybe get some striping or some detail on it. I'd like to get some new carpets for it. And maybe in the future, new paint. Don't know. But that's for the next video. Thank you.